Ron Howard is Hollywood's nicest director, but even he has limits. From volatile actors to legendary stars who tested his patience, today we reveal the 6 people who pushed him to the edge. Number 2 will shock you like nothing else you've ever heard. Tom Sizemore, Ron Howard, is known for running his sets like a symphony. Quiet baton, steady tempo, every player perfectly in tune. The machinery hums silently behind the magic, invisible yet omnipresent, allowing actors to immerse themselves fully in their roles. But sometimes, one force comes along that can turn that symphony into a storm. In 1996, on the set of Ransom, that force arrived in the form of Tom Sizemore. Raw, magnetic, unpredictable. Sizemore embodied the kind of intensity audiences craved. But on a set built for precision, that intensity wasn't always welcome. Crew members whispered about palpable tension, a crackle in the air, the sense that a single misstep could send the entire production spiraling. Howard's philosophy is simple. Preparation breeds freedom. Every scene meticulously planned, every moment accounted for. Yet Sizemore's process defied routine. Call sheets felt more like suggestions than mandates. Lines sparked like electricity one moment, fizzled into static the next. For Howard, who thrives on consistency, the unpredictability was more than a challenge. It was a test of leadership. One day, the tension reached its peak. Production came to a halt, not due to malfunctioning equipment, but because the emotional current on set demanded it. Howard quietly reset the day, rearranging coverage and reblocking shots to match the energy that actually existed, rather than the energy the schedule assumed. There were no raised voices, no public scolding. The soft power of containment replaced confrontation. Sizemore's energy on camera, however, was undeniable. Menacing, alive, electric. He lit up every frame of Ransom. Howard adapted on the fly, like a veteran quarterback reading a broken play, channeling Sizemore's volatility into structured brilliance. Yet the toll on the crew was visible. Assistant directors acted as triage nurses, department heads tightened communication, and the usual set family had to armor itself against the storm. The lesson wasn't about blame, it was about boundaries. Passion drives art, but unchecked passion can fracture trust, morale, and schedule alike. Howard's genius was in engineering the volatility, capturing the raw brilliance without letting it destroy the day. When Sizemore passed in 2023, Howard's response was measured, almost imperceptible to outsiders. No sweeping tributes, no public declarations, just a quiet acknowledgement. It was a fitting coda to an experience that tested his patience, diplomacy, and skill. A volcano on a clockwork set isn't a moral judgment, it's a physics problem, and Howard had learned precisely how to contain the eruption without losing the film. Andy Griffith in 1960. A 6-year-old Ron Howard stepped onto the set of The Andy Griffith Show, a red-haired boy from Oklahoma with an effortless charm that lit up the screen. To the world, he was Opie Taylor, the innocent son of Sheriff Andy, living in the idyllic town of Mayberry. But for Ron, the set was more than a backdrop. It was a second home, and Andy Griffith was more than a co-star. He was a mentor, a father figure guiding him through the rhythms of performance. Those early years were tender and playful, a dynamic built on warmth and trust. Griffith encouraged young Ron's instincts, fostering a confidence that would lay the foundation for a lifetime in storytelling. Andy made me feel like I belonged, Howard would later reflect, his voice soft with nostalgia. Yet as the seasons passed, the pressures of fame began to weigh heavily on Griffith, and the picture-perfect world of Mayberry subtly shifted. Crew members recalled moments of moodiness, terse exchanges, and a controlling streak that occasionally surfaced behind the camera. The easy laughter between takes became scarcer. The gentle guidance that once defined Griffith's mentorship sometimes gave way to sharp remarks. For young Ron, these changes were confusing. The man who had taught him so much was now a figure of unpredictability. Yet, rather than react with resentment, Howard absorbed the lesson, learning how to navigate dominating personalities, how charisma could mask insecurity, and how respect could not be commanded through fear. By the time the show ended in 1968, their relationship had quietly cooled. There were no quarrels, no gossip, just distance. Howard had internalized a blueprint of leadership, empathy, cooperation, and the quiet authority that encourages creativity without crushing it. In the shadows of Mayberry, the future director was learning an invaluable truth. Emotional stress and ego can disrupt even the most harmonious environment, and the art of leadership lies in understanding and managing it. For Howard, the lessons of Mayberry weren't merely nostalgic. They were structural. They informed every set he would lead, every actor he would guide. The quiet storm of his childhood taught him how to protect creativity, balance personalities, and maintain calm under pressure. It was here that the foundation of his legendary patience, empathy, and strategic authority was forged, a quiet strength that would define his career. Russell Crowe in 2001. When Ron Howard and Russell Crowe first joined forces on A Beautiful Mind, it seemed like a match made in cinematic heaven. Howard, Hollywood's calm, methodical craftsman, known for his quiet authority and structured approach, met Crowe, the fiery, Oscar-winning powerhouse fresh from Gladiator, a man whose intensity could light up or consume a room. On screen, the collaboration worked like magic. The film won Best Picture and Best Director, a flawless marriage of heart and brilliance. Behind the camera, however, it was a daily battle of wills, a delicate dance between order and chaos. Crowe approached every scene as a proving ground. Playing John Nash, the brilliant but tormented mathematician, he came armed with ideas, rewrites, and a relentless desire to shape not only his character, but the entire scene. Crew members described him as volcanic, filling the set with a charged energy that crackled with creative electricity. Howard, accustomed to orchestrating harmony, found himself constantly balancing respect for Crowe's genius with the need to protect the rhythm of production. Scenes that should have flowed smoothly often became philosophical duels. Crowe didn't merely act, he wrestled each moment into submission, and Howard, with his signature calm, absorbed the tension, redirecting it subtly so the crew never felt the full impact of the storm. There were days when the shooting schedule had to be rewritten midstream, coverage adjusted on the fly, and performances coaxed out of chaos. Yet Howard's restraint never wavered. He engineered the volatility, channeling Crowe's brilliance into cinematic gold without letting it shatter the day. Crowe later justified his intensity as essential to his craft. "I don't show up to be liked," he said. "I show up to find truth in every moment." To him, pushing boundaries was not defiance. It was commitment. Howard, meanwhile, learned a crucial lesson. Not every collaboration could be repeated. "Some actors you steer in the scene," he reflected. "Russell, you simply hold on tight and hope for the best." The tension didn't diminish the result. On screen, Crowe's vulnerability and obsession were palpable, a performance of rare emotional power. Off-screen, Howard's ability to contain and channel that energy became a testament to his leadership, patience, and understanding of human creativity. The collaboration was both exhausting and exhilarating, a perfect storm that lit the film with intensity while teaching the director a lesson he would carry for life. Genius is brilliant, but it must be balanced with process. Henry Winkler by 1974, Ron Howard had already grown up in front of the cameras, moving from Opie Taylor in The Andy Griffith Show to Richie Cunningham on Happy Days. He was the all-American, wholesome teenager navigating the nostalgic world of the 1950s, the moral compass of a show built around his charm. Then Henry Winkler entered as Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli. Leather jacket, effortless cool, a magnetic presence that was supposed to be comic relief. What happened next surprised everyone. Fonzie didn't just steal a scene, he stole the spotlight. Audience fascination skyrocketed, and the show's focus began to shift. Scripts, marketing, and even interviews increasingly revolved around Winkler. For Howard, who had been the anchor of the series, the change was subtle but sharp. He was no longer the center of attention. Howard's response was measured. He didn't lash out, he didn't create conflict. Professionally, he remained grounded, continuing to deliver performances with warmth and authenticity. Yet those close to the production noticed a change. The easy energy that had defined his early seasons dimmed slightly, replaced with careful observation, curiosity, and introspection. It was an early, quiet lesson in fame, ego, and creative dynamics. Watching Winkler captivate audiences taught Howard that influence isn't always earned through effort alone. It can arrive unexpectedly, reshaping the narrative around you. Rather than resist, he studied it. He observed how audience chemistry could recalibrate a show, how creative egos must be managed delicately, and how personal ambition sometimes yields to the bigger picture. That period on Happy Days was pivotal. It clarified Howard's future. He no longer simply wanted to perform in front of the camera. He wanted to orchestrate the story from behind it. The shift, initially a subtle sting to his ego, became the springboard that propelled him into directing. In hindsight, being overshadowed by Winkler wasn't a loss. It was an education in leadership, patience, and the art of shaping people as much as stories. Decades later, their friendship endured. Winkler would call Howard the most generous soul in the business, a testament to the grace, humility, and emotional intelligence Howard developed during those years. Losing center stage on Happy Days wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of everything that came next. Mel Gibson, when Ron Howard signed on to direct Ransom in 1996, he was Hollywood's steady hand, calm, methodical, deeply respected. Mel Gibson, meanwhile, was at the peak of his stardom, fresh from Braveheart, a creative force in his own right, commanding attention both on and off the screen. The pairing promised fireworks, a collaboration of two titans dedicated to excellence. But behind the polished final product lay a constant push and pull, a quiet tug-of-war for control. Gibson's passion and intensity were legendary. Every day on set, he brought ideas, suggestions, and the kind of energy that could electrify or exhaust a production. Crew members recalled his insistence on influencing camera angles, pacing, and even dialogue, demanding the scene live up to his vision. Howard, accustomed to calm orchestration and invisible authority, faced a delicate balancing act. He needed to respect Gibson's artistry while maintaining the rhythm of production. It wasn't about ego. It was about keeping the day alive, the schedule intact, and the story coherent. Each clash was measured, a negotiation, a test of leadership under fire. The pivotal moment came during a tense kidnapping sequence, the emotional anchor of the film. Gibson repeatedly stopped production to propose new line readings, adjust blocking, and refine the scene's emotional weight. Howard responded with calm precision, subtly realigning coverage and energy to maintain control without escalation. It wasn't confrontation, it was mastery of containment. For Gibson, the tension wasn't rebellion, it was commitment. "Ron's the calm eye in the storm," he later said. "I'm the storm." His energy made Ransom electric, each take charged with raw emotion. For Howard, it was an exhausting but invaluable lesson. Two leaders can guide a ship, but only if one can bend without breaking, absorb chaos without losing vision. Ultimately, the partnership succeeded brilliantly on screen. Gibson's performance as a desperate, grieving father was visceral and lived in. Howard's direction gave it clarity and structure. Yet the toll behind the scenes was steep. Howard walked away drained, having navigated brilliance and turbulence in equal measure. It was a reminder that even the calmest captain must respect the power of the storm. Marlon Brando for Ron Howard. The chance to direct Marlon Brando in the mid-1990s was more than a professional milestone. It was a childhood dream. Brando wasn't just an actor, he was the actor, a legend who had forever transformed cinema with A Streetcar Named Desire and The Godfather. To work with him was to touch greatness itself. On paper, the collaboration promised brilliance. The project was a prestige drama, intimate yet grand, centered on an aging patriarch grappling with his legacy. Brando, with his iconic intensity and unparalleled talent, seemed perfect for the role. But the reality behind the scenes was far from ideal. By this stage of his career, Brando had developed a reputation for unpredictability, indifference, and outright rebellion. He arrived late, often unprepared, and insisted on using cue cards scattered around the set for his dialogue. Crew members recalled a sense of drift in his focus, as if the script were mere background noise for his own internal musings. Howard, known for order, precision, and calm authority, suddenly found himself directing a force that refused to be directed. At first, Howard approached the challenge with patience. His philosophy had always been that respect earns respect. He accommodated Brando's quirks, hoping to gain trust, but it quickly became clear that this wasn't creative experimentation. It was disregard. Brando would vanish for hours, demand entire scenes be rewritten mid-shot, and shift character motivations on a whim, sending the crew into confusion. One seemingly simple dialogue scene spiraled into hours of frustration. Brando stopped repeatedly, dismissed lines as beneath him, wandered off set without explanation, then returned to demand a total rewrite. Howard remained composed, absorbing the chaos, calculating how to salvage the scene without publicly breaking the legendary actor. Crew members later noted the tension hanging in the air like a storm cloud, a palpable strain that rarely left anyone untouched. Ultimately, the project never reached its intended completion. Publicly, creative differences and scheduling issues were cited. Behind the scenes, it was clear. Brando's behavior had made the production untenable. The experience was an agonizing chapter for a director who had built his reputation on professionalism, patience, and leadership. Howard had learned a defining truth: no level of talent can excuse disrespect. Reflecting on Brando years later, Howard remarked, "Some legends earn their reputation through their work. Others earn it through their behavior. It's important to know the difference." It was a sobering reminder that even the greatest artist could test boundaries beyond endurance, and that the true measure of leadership is maintaining control without succumbing to anger, even in the face of chaos. For Ron Howard, this final chapter in the countdown wasn't just a story of conflict. It was a testament to his resilience, his patience, and the quiet strength that would define a career spanning decades. Even Hollywood's kindest director has breaking points. These 6 stories show that talent alone doesn't guarantee respect, and that behind every masterpiece, there's a storm quietly weathered. Which of these actors surprised you the most? Comment below, hit like, and don't miss our next deep dive into Hollywood's untold secrets.
Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into Hollywood's hidden history.